No matter what people want you to believe, don't ever turn back on your dreams. It's all in your hands, a change is near. Close your eyes, listen, the sound is so.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Alana here. Welcome to 3 Degrees of Love, 3 Degrees of Love Divination. So I have quite a few things that actually I kind of wanted to share with you. And share with you, sort of, I guess, go over and talk about what I guess I've been up to. And maybe some announcements, some revelations. Yeah, and you know, if you haven't been here before, you know, welcome. And if you're, you know, returning, thank you for joining me on my channel. I hope you like my content. You know, I am, you know, born and raised, you know, as a Christian, and that has been my sort of spiritual upbringing, you know, religious upbringing, for most of my life. I still, you know, hold true to some of those beliefs, but there are quite a few that I also still challenge. And you know, and as I've, you know, grown and been exposed to things and have different experiences, and you know, and I analyze and my observations and everything, you know, I've kind of sort of concluded that you know, that everything is connected. And you know, and that even when it comes to, you know, religion versus spirituality, and that sort of divide that has been created over time, and you know, that sort of egotistical, you know, we're right, you know, this versus that, you know, good versus evil. You know, I talk about the idea of, you know, it's not about the practice. It's not about the practice. It's about the intent. And you know, and my idea of how I apply that to everything, you know, in life, and how I've seen that, you know, in you know, in my experiences and stuff like that. And so, you know, at this point in time in my life, you know, I'm finding a way to sort of combine all those aspects and appreciate all those aspects, you know, not only of my heritage, but, you know, of the heritage of humanity, and embracing all its spirituality and how it's connected. And, you know, it's funny because as I'm, you know, inspired to do this video, and I'm doing this video, it's the crossover full moon in, I believe it's Aries, if I'm not mistaken. You know, and on Friday is also Good Friday. So, you know, as a Christian and born, baptized into, you know, as a Roman Catholic, you know, Easter is very much a part of my heritage, you know, and how that relates to some of the practices that, you know, even pagan practices, when it comes to the idea of, you know, the spring equinox, and I forget what the season is right now for the, but it's basically what the equivalent is for the wheel of the year in pagan and Wiccan. It's I can't remember what the season is, but anyways, it translates to the spring equinox. And you know, and every, you know, I take the opportunity to pay attention to, you know, there's the various, forms of religion that all have a celebration in and around this time, and the idea of what all of that represents. And, in my discoveries, working, like I said, working in a Christian bookstore and even diving into tarot and understanding some of the historical understandings of, the origins of and the connection between that and Christianity, couldn't be more evident in this deck that you see in front of me, and the adjacent book that I recently discovered. So, with all and everything that, see here, I will go through a lot of the stuff you see, but my main focus is obviously with the Gustave Dior Tarot, published by Los Guerrero. So, and sort of kind of how this sort of, to me, bridges that gap between it all for me, and, everything you see here and how it's all related. So yeah, so I can't wait to dive in and get started, and I hope that you will enjoy the video. And if you do, by all means, please like, share, and subscribe. There's a lot of exciting things I have, and ideas that I have coming up that, for videos and stuff that I want to do. And of course, as you know, me and who and getting to know me and who I am and how I operate, as I say, I am love, and, and empathy is my superpower, and I've always led with my heart wide open, and, and even though, it's also, led me into some dark places, and some and situations. It's all been, an eye-opening experience and learning that I essentially walked in the darkness for, blindly leading with love for the last 40 years of my life. So, I've learned a lot, and, and as I continue to move forward and be, a mental health advocate, living, struggling, healing, you name it, I'm doing it. And how I've combined all my experiences, this is a season of anew and reborn. And oh my God, just some of the revelation, anyways, we'll get right into it. So I'm gonna get closer, and we'll just go right through everything. Okay, so yeah, I'll see you again shortly. All right, so yeah, so let's just taking a closer look. So this is the Gustave Dior. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Anyways, I want to think with the, I believe it's called the Accent-Aigu, if I'm remembering my French from 30 some odd years ago. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. But anyways, okay, so this is an artist from, those of you who are into, historical art and things like that will know, who this is. Anyways, so I guess I think, well, when I looked it up, it might be on the book here, but anyways, okay, so this particular tarot deck is curated and edited by Petro Alego. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. But basically, this particular artist, Gustave Dior, I hope I'm, again, probably butchering the name, but I hope not, is essentially the artist who did the illustrations in the Bible. And I believe more leading towards the original version of that, or English translation, I guess, if you will, which is the King James. So, okay. So, anyhow, how I came to, so when I first laid eyes on this deck or heard about this deck, I can't remember where, but it definitely floating around on TerraTube and within the Terra community, and and because of my love for cards and art and tarot and stuff like that, I happen to also fall upon it too, and I'm very familiar with this publisher, Lo Scarabeo, Lo Scarabeo. I hope right. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I hear slightly different variations too. But anyways, so yeah, and something about the artwork really screamed Christianity to me, and what I have heard about the the sort of historical connections with Christianity and embedded within the tarot in the meanings of the cards and stuff like that, traditionally and whatever. But yeah, it reminded me of my heritage, if you will, right? So and as I've been sort of and you'll see from my videos at the beginning, I started at the beginning of the year, and I started the hashtag shadow work, you say, and all the decks that I dedicate to I talk about shadow work, and the importance of shadow work, and how I see the practice of that to its full essence, and what that means, there are various different spiritual leaders and even creators, and you see that being a trend too, by if you paying attention to what's being created, by some beloved creators within the tarot community, and and just in general, in the resources, and even like I said, there's a couple of people online that I've come to know and love, through the tarot community, through spiritual community, and that is Christina Lobes. And at the beginning of the year, she was talking about shadow work, but I had been doing this work and really talking about it from like a from a therapy based counseling perspective for a while, and regularly, as I've been struggling with my own mental health concerns, and looking and deep diving and addressing those things, and and invoking healing, right? So and anyway, as I've been, doing that, and I, and I look at, understanding what that means, and looking at, some of the as we talk about mental health and the awareness and the stigma and karmic cycles and what all that means, and and from a sort of pagan introspection perspective and understanding of that is from a spiritual perspective, but also from a very psychological perspective of what that means. It's facing the things that we've suppressed. It's about facing the you'll see in front of me there's 2 decks here, and these are playing card decks. Okay, so, and this sort of comes in how everything for me ties together, because I've always had a love of playing cards, right? And I've collected playing cards for a long time. And as I continue to now sort of walk the path of tarot and stuff like that, I realized that, wait a second, I've kind of been doing divination my entire life without even realizing it, and I think a lot of people too, because if you understand the history of how of tarot and cartomancy and divination and how all of that really started, it's and cards, but poker, gambling, where all these things, card playing, card games, where all of that stemmed from, right? There's a whole market of playing cards. Like, oh my gosh, okay? Now these, before I even dove into tarot, I was very familiar with, I believe these are, okay, no, well, I didn't get it from there. But anyways, this is Murphy's Magic, actually, playing cards. But, I've already had a fascination about playing cards and the cardistry and the, the sleight of hand and the fascination with magicians and magic, and see, right? Words. It's all connected. Anyways. It's all connected, as I say, and it's not the intent. I mean, it's the intent, it's not the practice. Anyways, so yeah, and here the set is actually Truth and Lies, if you can see that, right? And and I don't think it's a coincidence that that truth is actually in the darker box, right? And what we blind ourselves with is, black and white. Anyways, so the aesthetic has always black and white and gray and all of that, and has, anyways, yeah. So, as you can see, there's a theme. But anyway, so back to the Gustave Tarot. Yeah. And its connection to Christianity and stuff like that, right? So, anyhow. Okay. But I happened to recently find, after seeing this tarot and finally getting it for myself, like here, so we got the right, it comes with the little white book. You've got the those of you who know tarot, it's got some ad card for Instagram and your title card, in a tuck box, and monochromatic grayscale imagery to me is beautiful, and I think maybe the simplicity of it is something that has that really draws me in. Some of my favorite decks if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I do have pictures of, my some of my collection up there. So if you're interested in seeing that, because I'm not, I, as much as I love tarot and stuff like that, I'm, more so, again, as, my professional background being a counselor and, social work and mental health advocate and stuff like that. Anything and anything to do with that, and, trying to, promote wellness and teaching and learning, and building that community sense of community, is more so what I'm after, so I'm not so much doing walkthroughs and stuff like that so much on my channel, but once in a while, yeah, because it's also meant to be, a fun experience too, and diving into the things that I love, and, being able to share that with you, and what that means to me means something too. So, yeah, absolutely. Yes, I have been using this, and so it's not in order or anything like that, but I like I said, I really appreciate the simplicity of grayscale. And it's funny because there's another deck that it's actually by an indie creator, who, by the way, Lamucci Design, they did the Phantom Tarot, which is, it was I have that one, and that one is, where there's an app for, I forget what they call that technology, sort of 3D imagery, where the cards, there's imagery that comes to life. I remember, I know that technology because when I was working in a Christian bookstore, actually, there was a book, a children's book, that had that same thing, and it was a Bible with the interactive component through an app on your phone. So I was already familiar with that sort of innovative thing, if you will, by way of Christianity. So yeah, anyways, and anyhow, so yeah, so they did the Phantom Tone, that's Lamucci Design, and so they created the Baroque Tarot, and that's another sort of historical art, what's the word I'm looking for, genre, if you will, and it's that sort of dark imagery, kind of grayish, darkish tone. So something about this, appeals to me. Anyways, I not to say I don't have a love of color. I absolutely do. I do. But this, anyways, I know, some people, in the tarot community don't, so much like the idea of, black and white, and, may not gravitate towards, but this is something, I don't know, I guess I just, but anyway, yeah, so that's me. And like I said, some of it, the imagery with, and even the angels, and, I think it was it the Hierophant? No, it's on the box, I think, or one of the cards. Okay, well, that. But there was another one. Okay. Never mind. Let me show you the book. Okay, this book is amazing. And this is how so this is the book. Now, this book is pretty big. I did get it on Amazon. And it's the Doré Bible illustrations. Right? Because he did do the illustrations for the Bible, and I believe the historical references is in here, and of course this imagery and the Ten Commandments. This is what this reminds me of. So, this to me really pays tribute and homage to thing, and how to me, I say it's connected. Like this is homage to my Christian upbringing, okay? And my love of cards that I already had, but didn't and art, and creative thinking, and being able to our imagination, like, and how the secrets of it lays within our history, all that we are. It's all connected. Like, so yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence that I happened to come across this this book and this tarot deck more recently. Oh, and the way my mind goes all over the place, I realized I was talking about the Baroque tarot and how this sort of reminded me similarly to the Baroque tarot, because if you see the Baroque tarot, the back, what the backs of that look like, and actually I'm probably going to be doing I'll do another video, because there has been some other tarot decks that I've has come recently into my collection, and reminds me, and both of them actually remind me of two of my earliest acquired decks that I brought into my collection when I first made that leap into tarot. One of which is my first ever backed Kickstarter of tarot decks. I think I had already started, I already knew about Kickstarter and I had already backed prior projects, but they weren't necessarily tarot related. But I think there was maybe one or two prior that were actually playing card related. Funny. So, yeah. And yeah. But let's just take a look at this huge book. Excuse me, it's really big. And yeah, I think it's all the imagery, and there are the scriptures for that explain the imagery of this, and I think maybe, you know what, let me see if I can, I'm gonna zoom out a bit because this book is big, as I said. So sorry guys, as this book is so big, the angle and how I was recording for the cards just wasn't working, and so I wanted to zoom out so you can really sort of see the book, the whole book, and so of course there's an introduction, so the Bible, as I'll just read this this really quickly here. The Bible, as illustrated by Gustave, was first published in the French version in 1865, and within the next few years, other editions followed, to all the main European languages and in Hebrew. This work is of prime importance in the history of 19th century art, in a period when illustrated books flourished as never before. the most famous of illustrators, was working on the great bestseller. In the mid 1860s, Dior was at the height of his fame and his extraordinary fecundity, if I'm pronouncing that word right. Anyway, as he worked on the 241 plates for the Book of Books, he called forth his highest powers. Gustave Dior, 1832 to 1883, born in Alais at Strasbourg, son of a civil engineer, began his career in Paris at the age of 16 as a contributor to Philippon's new comic paper, Le Journal pour Rire. I hope I'm pronouncing that. Rear. Okay. He was immediately popular, and Le Gamin de Génie, as Théophile Gautier called him, rapidly became celebrated. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. I don't really want to read the whole thing. But you get it. Historical. Like, this is, going way back. Way back. Right? Okay. So, anyways, but yeah. And then, so it has a list of plates. And, yes. Okay. So here's how it connects. I gotta zoom in for this one. Hold on. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm close enough for you to read to be able to see what this is. Hold on. I'm trying to see it with the viewfinder, but for me to be able to give you the best angle, it's kind of hard for me to see and read at the same time. But anyways, so this is a list of all the plates for the illustrations, and it has all the plates and the different, basically the sections of the Bible, right? Okay, so here's the big thing. So for those of you, calling all Christians, well, actually calling everyone. And this is where when it comes to doing shadow work and understanding the true definition of what it means, and when I talk about, it's not the it's not the practice, it's the intent, the ego, the root of all evil. Okay, and why it's important to do shadow work and to check ourselves and check okay. We're running from each other. Why? It's historically, it's all connected. Okay? The fact that, so the Apocrypha, for those of you who probably run away from Christianity, and those of you who may not, for those of you sort of half-blind Christians who don't know what the Apocrypha is, I learned, and I'll tell you, and I can say that, and because I've had to check myself, and myself got checked more recently in my experience working in a Christian bookstore, because I didn't even know what the hell the Apocrypha was until then. Okay, so, but it just And that's a big chunk of the Bible that I learned was actually taken out from one of the original English texts, which is the old King James Version. And that's also why I think blindly and intuitively speaking, dove into it, because I was searching for something. Okay, this is how I learned. Like I said, I learned about the Apocrypha. Okay, and that's a big chunk of the Bible that the ruler King James at the time took out of the text, and it's funny because those that really follow the King James version of the Bible are the ones that went against Catholicism and the Catholic faith, because that's actually the true start of Christianity, right? It isn't the oldest religion, though. It's not the oldest religion. I also have a book on that I somehow acquired during the Tower years. Okay, so the New Testament, and this imagery. Whoa. Okay, and there's the description, of the Bible and how in all of the scenes as depicted. And the imagery, it's very rich. It's very thought-provoking. It's very I'm diving into some of the teachings from my heritage, from my upbringing, my Christian heritage. This is like bam in my face. Hello, don't forget your roots. But also recognize your roots. That I've been immersing myself in my entire life. Naturally, because my mom and I used to play cards all the time. We love playing Rummy 500. And the battle that goes on with that, with us. And I'm sure there are many Christian families, but I know there are also many Christian families that have run away from and this is why I talk about, and why balance is important. And anyway, right? This is why we all need to check ourselves. This is why we all need to check our privileges. We need to check our ignorances. We need to stop this selfishness and the egotistical, because we are all connected. As much as we are at a divide, we all come from the same one source. And if this is not confirmation of that connection between the so-called light and dark, Christianity, paganism, witchcraft, it's spirituality. It's how we connect to our ancestors. It's how we connect to the truth of ourselves and where we come from. But there's a polarity. And the understanding of where it is and what sort of throws you off. But understanding that any time that you believe that you are more deserving than someone else, because it says so in the Bible, we are created in the eyes of God. And we could argue all day on, about, that definition, right? But if you understand humanity and you understand that we all come from the same one source, then you could understand truly what or who God is. And, and understand that you may not call it that, you may not, right? But appreciate someone else's perspective and point of view, because that is their heritage, and be able to respect that, because to someone else that may be divine consciousness, that might be the universe, that could be Mother Earth. It's did it all start with a big bang? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. But not in the way we may be led because of our own sort of negative barriers and that negative egotistical negativity. We may not be able to understand and see that perspective, that higher, because we're clouded with so much history of our ancestors, of our past, of how we've adapted to life circumstances and things like that. And that's when you can dive deep and be anchored in love and be vibing at the highest vibration. That is when you could understand the truth of who we all are. So when I say I am love, I'm saying that because I believe and respect that is where, from which I've originated, my familial line, and understanding, when they say words have power, and there's a reason why it's called spelling. There's a reason why they call making magic or creating spells. It's all connected. It's not the practice. It's the intent. And it's when you can step off, when you offset that balance with that sense of entitlement and ego, and we don't check ourselves, we feed into that negative karmic cycle. We've been doing that for a long time. That's why we're where we're at right now, all of humanity. Oh my gosh. Anyways, we've been teaching ourselves this entire time, and it's not until because of the functioning and the egotistical, selfish way that society has become. This, we've separated, we've divided so far, and this, when we step too far off the scale, right? There's a reason why they say hurt people hurt people. But remembering that in our creation, we were given the gift of free will and the freedom of choice. And when you can understand that the cause and effect, the ebb and flow, and anything that goes against the natural law and flow of movement, we throw things off balance, we create darkness and chaos. That right? And sometimes when we go unchecked and we don't dive into the origins and the truth of our past and be able to take ownership and control and take responsibility to create that change and to make that choice for change, we will continue to repeat the same negative patterns. Hey guys, so yeah, as it's just the synchronicities, the to Christianity and this book, right? This is I'm so when people, there's just so much synchronicity for me, and there's so much confirmation, to life, to the journey, to where I feel I am right now, and even in this moment, I'm, I hang on to my Christian faith, but I'm not, I'm not afraid to call out. Here's the image of Noah's Ark. The dove sent forth from the ark, and the dove came in to him in the evening. And lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucketh off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. Genesis chapter 8. Verse 11. Oh my God. Those of you who are into tarot and numerology and everything like that, you guys understand numbers and the significant. You probably can't see what I'm looking at. Okay, but this. The dove sent from Noah's Ark. Genesis chapter 8, verse 11. Like I said, those of you who are, in the free spirituality and understand esoteric knowledge and numerology and astrology and all of those things, and the understanding of information and words and how it's all embedded in everything. Right? So Genesis, to me, I hear the word Genesis and I'm hearing generation. Okay. Now I could do the research. We could do the research, and we can look up, the and to dive deep into the meaning of Genesis and the origins of that word. As a nerd, fellow nerd, and it's funny because I looked up the meaning, nerd. I've always identified myself as a nerd, and what that means, and and we look at the stigmas of what, and anybody who's who may be calling all geeks and nerds and whatever. When you look up the words, and the meaning behind it, there's a definitive distinction between what a geek and what a nerd and what a dork and what all of these sort of negative sort of words and connotations that we've come to adapt in society. But I can happily say I'm a nerd. I am a Christian. I am a nerd. I am a woman. I am black. And I embrace it all, and I love it, and I love everyone else and can respect everyone else. Anyways, sort of the understanding of, and the numbers. And in tarot, 8. The 8 is significant. The 8 is the symbol of infinity. It's the symbol of DNA, of evolution, strength. In tarot, the number 8 is significant of strength. Half of 8 is 4. 4 in tarot, 4 of Wands, we know that's the foundational card. Three, the act, the cooperation, right? Number 3 is significant. My life path number is 3. Sense of community, sense of belonging, acceptance, love. 11. And funny because in again a tarot reference, in 2 different versions of tarot, we have Thoth. Well, actually there's several different versions, but okay, so there's Marseille, Thoth, and RWS, which is, and so for those of you who know what RWS is, but for those of you who don't, RWS is oh my god, why am I trying? Rider-Waite-Smith. Wow, Atlanta. Okay, Rider-Waite-Smith. And that's that is sort of more the traditional, but anyways, so again, sort of understanding the concept of tarot and and the meanings behind the numbers. So 8 in RWS is strength, but in Thoth and in Thoth and in well, actually, does Marseille sort of, I'm trying to remember if Marseille operates, and those of you who know the difference can help me out in the comments with that. But anyways, 8 and 11 in the tarot tend to be interchangeable depending on the system you're using of tarot. And 8 strength and 11 is justice. And and oftentimes they're switched in different orders. So sometimes 8 stands for justice and 11 is strength. Anyway, moving on. But like, when I say it's all connected, like, this is, to me, it's not a coincidence that I found, I brought this book, found this book and brought it into my collection, days before Easter, and the understanding, and we know the historics behind Easter, especially from sort of the Christian perspective. But even if we step outside of the restrictions of Christianity, right? Springtime, death and rebirth, and in every culture there's their own celebration for that, right? We have in paganism, it's this celebration of the spring equinox, and it's the same idea, death and rebirth, right? Because, right, we spring forward, right? We die to be reborn again, and death is symbolic. It doesn't always have to be in the literal sense. It kind of brings me into, it brings me in confirmation of what I talk about when I talk about being anchored. It's only through the slowing down, the forced to slow down, to really do some deep dive and introspection and confront the shadows of our past, that and I've had the bittersweet moment to have to do that because of what had happened to me, and the discoveries, the about myself, about life, about our entire existence. Okay, so leaning on my heritage and my roots, right, in Catholicism, and it brought me to, and then the significance of Easter and understanding that, it's funny because not only did I've had to pause. I was filming this last night, and I had to. There was an interruption with my phone ringing, and I didn't get a chance to turn the camera back on to get back to it. So all of this that I'm sharing with you, I've had time to percolate, I've slept on it, and stuff like that, and some of the information that has come up. And one of the delightful things over the course of the night, and even into this morning, I came across in the tarot community a video by Ann T, and I will link her channel in the description box. But she was reviewing a deck. She was reviewing a new deck by Blue Angel called, is it The Mysteries of Magdalene? I think. I will definitely, in editing, put all that information on the screen, because I don't 100% recall if that was the name of the title. But anyways, it was a deck about Magdalene, and and the historical roots, and what she represented in her days, and stuff like that, and the story of it, right? Recognizing these ascended masters and these very historically influential people, right? And it wasn't, she said that it happened to arrive, and she gave knowledge to Good Friday and Easter and, all of that stuff. But it's not, there's no, anyway, there's no right and wrong. We all have the secrets of our very existence lies within all of us, and we've been over the years been teaching ourselves these secrets. But it's a matter of being able to slow down and being able to pay attention and see the truth, because we are what we create, right? And so when we create hatred and we create and fueled by the ego and, you know, I'm right versus you're wrong, and we can't accept each other for who we are, you know, fully. We can't accept ourselves because of, you know, the pain, the trauma that we've endured as a result. To when we step off the scale in any sort of wrong direction. When I say wrong direction, I mean too far on one, stepping off the scale too far into to one extreme to another. We still, everything is off balanced, and it's a matter of perception, right? Nothing can ever be, you know, all good or all evil, right? That it's in the balance. Anyways, and confirmation about, you know, it brought me back to the Apostles' Creed and what I remember about the Apostles' Creed from childhood. So, you know, I remember when I was triggered and I started looking and I looked it up. So I printed it off, and, you know, as something as a reminder of when I say anchored in love, you know, I talk about the scripture about love. I talk about, you know, the Lord's Prayer, you know, Our Father. I talk about, you know, me leaning on, you know, the Serenity Prayer, you know, which has been anchored in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Now, here's the Apostles' Creed. And I'm going to read the whole thing, and I want you to listen to it with an open mind. Vastly open mind. The Apostles' Creed. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the power of the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended into hell, and on the third day he rose again from the dead. He ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. No, this says the right hand of the Father Almighty. I just know it as the right hand of the Father. So this just comes to show that you know, translation and wording has changed over time, but the message still remains the same. If you can free your minds from all the restrictions to really take heed to what is in this, not to get caught up in you know, in all that is literal, being able to feel the truth, right? Because, you know, and across any faith, any practice, you know, any spiritual practice, and understanding what it means to be, you know, to have faith and what that means. We lead with the heart. The logistics are to follow, you know, and go hand in hand. That is the understanding too of the role of the chariot and what that archetype represents, for those of you who know in the tarot. But anyways, he is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, and the resurrection of the body, and life everlasting. Amen. And so it is. Well, of course, that's my extra-ness that I added. And of course, there's so the part about the Holy Catholic Church, right? Again, I still have, even personally, still have a little bit of hang-ups, on that. But that's an original text, right, from when it was first written. Even though, like I said, there has been several different sort of upgrades and various translations, of the same thing, and words have sort of been interchanged a little bit. Like I say, like, this copy that I've printed out here isn't the original text that I remember from childhood. So, that alone can tell you. So, and why I say it's important not to be always hung up on the literal aspects of the word, right? And where you have to be, where it's important to have a discerning spirit and be able to, to do that shadow work, to really, understand in the full message of what is being said, right? And when we're all different and we, can interpret things differently, all of that can really, what's the word? Dilute, alter a message. Like if you think about the idea of broken telephone and that game from childhood that we play, and the idea of speaking, saying a message and, secretly into somebody's ear, and then watching as everybody, passes that message along. At the end of the day, the original message gets completely lost, and sometimes, makes absolutely no sense at the end, right? If you remember that. So to understand, it's the same thing with information over time, right? And as we cycle through life and, death and rebirth, and we go through that entire cycle, historically, things get lost along the way, right? So, the truth, uncovering the truth takes it takes a collective experience. It takes, right, because we all have the information within our historics, within our families, generationally speaking. So, the part where where it says he will come again to judge the living and the dead. Okay, but it doesn't say how. So the how part there can be so many possibilities. And if we understand, the idea of embodiment and reincarnation and, overall just, historics, genetics, and all of that, he coming again could be through anybody. It could be through all of us. And right, the idea that he will come again to judge the living and the dead. Well, to me, that's where that part, for me, screams the idea, the concept of shadow work, and why we all need to do that. We teach each other through the shadow work. We are judging ourselves in this lifetime. We are judging the actions of our past selves. We are learning from the mistakes that our ancestors have made before us, and how we are judging ourselves, and how we, may blindly continue those same carry on those same sins of our ancestors. And it's through the work of shadow work, through us checking our privileges, through us doing that. That's how we're judging the living and the dead. When we can say we believe in the communion of saints, we're saying we believe in the community of all of us. We are accepting of one another for who we are. We are recognizing that it's not what we do, it's our intent. When we step out of line, and we step, to one side or another too far, we are throwing off the life's balance. And when we do that, we create chaos. As I woke up this morning, I was, I told you that I was watching Auntie's walkthrough of the new deck. I think it's the Mysteries of Magdalene. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but please don't quote me on that. Like I said, I'll put it in the description box. They're also on the news this morning, right? I've said this before, right? Because as an empath, and who's walked through life always leading and choosing love, and everything that I've been through, and I can see, the imbalance of society and greed when it comes to money and right. So anyways, so the news, I like I said, I stopped watching the news in 2020, but every so often I will catch, something, and, whatever. Okay, I'm not living under a rock. But anyways, and so the news was about, in the fact that with inflation, the cost of living, everything is going up. We have people living in poverty. We have people, right? Everybody is so desperate to take advantage of someone else, this sort of selfishness, right? And just to talk about the greed. So on the news, and it was talking about, groceries and grocery prices. But those who are CEOs and who are shareholders, well, we're in a global mental health crisis. Our food prices, the inflation of things are so much. But somehow these executives and CEOs can still turn a profit and bring in billions of dollars, while the rest of the world is suffering from inflation and overpriced grocery costs and the fact that the food banks can't keep up. And then we sit here, why is the world such and such chaos and blah, blah, blah. And, we have to, come on now. Let's do the shadow work, people. And when I say do the shadow work, right? Like, from all levels. From all levels. It's not just a matter of, from the individual, right? But it has to be from every aspect, from every level, right? Self, community, world. That's how we do shadow work. So when I say it's all connected, right, and being able to, like, the connection between tarot and Christianity, and even just, you know, all being accepting of everyone and all religions and all journeys, and bringing appreciative of everyone and who we meet, because at the end of the day, we all come from the same source. We all come from the same source. Okay? So, in the spirit of giving, and, you know, it's Easter, and you know, and embracing new life and new ways of thinking, and shedding our old ways that are no longer serving the greater good, you know, of everyone, and that we are all deserving equally. You know, and how being the opportunity to be able to connect every experience that, you know, I've had up to now, all my education, you know, my childhood loves for tarot and art and cards and all of that stuff, you know, as I am, you know, stepping forward, you know, into this new chapter of my life, and I'm being reborn again, if you will, you know, in this season of spring and Easter, and right, you know, as I continue to develop my, you know, and sort of, like I said, to, you know, step into my purpose, and sort of reintegrate myself into, you know, my profession, you know, again, and, you know, sort of recreating myself, and, you know, and sort of developing everything through even this channel. You know, I was blessed with the opportunity. And there's so many things that I want to share with you, but, you know, I don't, and so many fun things that I have planned and want to do, and coming up. You know, there's an incredible artist and author who and gifted me this Afropic Adventures, the incredible genius, Imhotep, and You Can Be, and these are children's books, melanated children's books. There's a whole thing. I have a video. I did an interview with the brilliant mind behind this, named Hezi, and I will, you know, get and talk all about him and show you the video, you know, in the future. So, you know, pay attention to that, please. I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe, and, you know, as incentive to, you know, being able to do these things, to do this. And you know, I want to say thank you to all of you, and, you know, to those of you who have sort of been with me from the start. You know, the all handful of 100 and something, which I am grateful for. But as I continue to, you know, to step into my true calling, and how I'm combining all of that, I am hosting a giveaway for Easter, and, you know, this came lovingly by way of Brigh. The giveaway is going to be for the original tarot learning edition, and just something about the aesthetic. This is RWS. I will be doing an unboxing, but as I am announcing this giveaway, you know, I want you to please like, share, and subscribe. That's the part of the requirement. It is open to Canada and the US. I will leave that there for now, just because you know, with the shipping costs and everything like that, it just will just be easier to just leave it like that. Of course, you have to be, you know, 18 years and older, and you know, and stuff like that. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, on all aspects of my social media. I will have everything linked down below, but most importantly, that you are subscribed to my channel, and, you know, please, you know, comment down below. I want you to tell me, you know, for every valid entry, I want you to be able to tell me, introduce me to you, and, you know, with love, tell me exactly who you are. Share, you know, who you are. What are your pronouns? Where do you come from? What is your familiar background? What is the one thing about you that you are most proud of? And what it is that you have to give to another. And I want you to use the hashtag love in your comments as well. For every entry that, you know, comes in, that you will be entered, which I will have running for 2 weeks. I will put the, you know, obviously I will put the details, you know, up, and it will be for this learning edition. Now, what may come along with this and stuff like that, well, that's going to be a surprise. But know that you know, it's going to be one of divination, stationery, all about learning self and bettering ourselves, you know, from wholly and fully. So yeah, so I hope that you will enjoy everything that I have coming, and, you know, and please don't forget to, you know, smash that bell so that you will be notified whenever I post new videos. There's a lot of, you know, exciting things that I do have planned and have coming, and you know, and like I said, wanting to sort of build this community of love and acceptance and wholeness, and, you know, all of that, because I am love. And as I can sit and say that to you here today and identify that I am love. My name is Alana. Welcome to my channel, 3 Degrees of Love. And as I leave you here for now, I want to wish you a happy Easter. I want to wish you whatever it is that you historically, whatever it is your heritage is, whatever you celebrate, whether it's just the spring equinox, whether it's Easter, whether it, you know, Ramadan, whether it's, I forget what the Jewish holiday is that's around now. You know, it in someone's culture, this is actually, you know, talk about the switch over from, you know, the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, and how really April, this is actually the first of the, you know, this is actually the beginning of the year, the true year. and being able to dive and recognize those things and honoring our heritage, but also shedding light on, the errors of our ways and how we've divided and how we've, oh my God. So until I see you again, don't forget to live, listen, and learn. I love you. Please comment down below, introduce me to you, enter the giveaway for this, and help me to to really build this community and to break the barriers of divide that we've all created. Let's repair those connections and embracing and accepting the vastness that we all are, bring back equality and true meaning of what that is, in empathy and love and understanding and acceptance. Until I see you again, don't forget to live, listen, and learn. I love you. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.
No matter what people want.